Hello and welcome to Racer TV. I'm Rachel Ayers.
And I'm Rodney Smith, 5-time GNCC champion.
We're here making the 10th stop of the Grand National Cross Country Series at the Yadkin Stomp. This track has always been a favorite for some of our riders. We go through a house, we go through a pipe. It always has a lot of new obstacles in it.
Yeah, definitely, Rachel. North Carolina brings a lot tighter trails and trees. We've had some good weather last week. It's going to be a good tight race today with no dust. I think the quads and stuff are, with the tight trees are going to be a lot closer.
Well, we have Bill Balance and Chris Borge. We're winding down the series with only 16 points between them. So Chris is really going to have to make tremendous steps forward to be in the championship hunt.
Yeah, definitely. With Balance leading by 16 points with 4 races to go, he's thinking about that championship right now. He wants to be consistent, but yet on the other hand, he wants to try to win some races too, but not take any chances and have any kind of problems or DNFs. Borge and Jinx, on the other hand, they need to let it all out. They need to come out here and they need to win some races to catch back up in the points.
Well, we don't want to count anyone out. This has always been a fun track. Let's head down to Jason and get a better look at the start.
Well, thanks a lot, Rachel and Rodney. Jason Wygant down here at the start for the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. It's the stretch run for this series. Chris Borge still going after Bill Balance and trying to take the championship away. He really needs to win these last 4 rounds to give himself a shot at it, and if he's going to do it, it needs to start here today. He said he's been training extra hard, and everybody's going to see that as soon as we wave the green flag. Now, what we're hearing, this course is extra tight, which means the start is critical. It's going to be wide open through the first couple of corners, and after that, we'll give you an idea of exactly what the riders are going to see with our Scott USA helmet cam.
Thanks a lot, Jason Wygant, as we do jump into these tight woods here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. And as you can see, a lot of underbrush to the sides there. So if riders get off there, they don't know for sure what they're going to get into. So trying to blaze a new trail out there under race conditions is not one of the wiser things these riders are going to be able to achieve here. You can see a lot of rolling terrain, uphills, downhills, through some gulches and gullies and things of that nature. But all in all, a very tight trail. And one thing to point out is as dry and dusty as it looks like it might be right now in this wooded section, it's nothing compared to what we saw last year when it was very, very dry and nearly impossible to see if you weren't in the first place position out there. Things are much different here in this 10th round in the second year here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. There you get a glimpse of the house. Now, the motorcycle pilots will actually ride through that house, but the doors are a little bit too narrow for them to ride through on the ATVs, but not too narrow to get through this pipe section here. The biggest obstacle about this part of the track is the water, and trying not to suck it up and drown your machine out. As we take a look at our points leaders right now, Bill Balance with 226 points has finally become in command of the point situation after a struggle in the early part of the year as the number 2 of Chris Borge, who has 210 points heading into this 10th round of racing. Was your early points leader in the early part of the season, but has since then relinquished to the 6-time and defending GNCC champ Balance. Chris Jinx moves into the number 3 position and holds pretty solidly there in the number 3 spot of points with 166. And William Yoakley with 146 points in a couple of not so good typical William Yoakley races has dropped him back into a 4th place position of the points, but don't count him out just yet. It's still a lot of races left to go here in the 2006 season as far as we're concerned. 4 of them to be exact, including to today. So you know that he is going to be trying hard. Chris Bethel back there getting a drink of water before the race. Chris Jinx on the start. He looks like he's stoked and ready to roll. Chris Borge also is pumped up and ready to go racing here today, but all of them are gunning for that man right there, Bill Balance, who right now is sitting in control of the point situation. Heather Cox sang our national anthem, and what a fine job she did. She was an American Idol finalist. She finished 17th on the 2006 version of American Idol, and it was such a treat to have Heather singing with us here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. As you can see, a nice crowd turning out as the Yadkinville Chamber of Commerce bringing them out in droves here in 2006 as the kickstarts are down and racing action underway here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. And will Balance be able to pull it out one more time across the stripe? It looks like Balance will get the whole shot, but just barely. Jinx in the number 2 spot, side by side as they headed into that second turn. Jinx was on the outside. Let's see if he's able to hold on to second. Yes, he does. Borge back in the number 3 spot aboard the number 2. And it looks like that Jinx right now is trying to get around the champ as he wants to lead him into the woods. Like they said in the opener, Rodney Smith said these woods are tight, so the start is going to be very crucial. And getting into the woods first could possibly be the race win for you on the day, depending on how the rest of the laps go for you. But we take a look at their ITP hole shot one more time here. As you can see, Bill Balance just gets off to a great drive there as they come across the stripe there, just barely. The number 1 Yamaha gets credit for the ITP Whole Shot Award. As we head down to row number 2 now, our Pro-Am division, 17 up-and-coming pro riders on this particular row as they head into that first turn. We got riders like Todd Rothermo, Craig Reed, Jeff Pickens, Taylor Kaiser, Michael Lucas, Tyler Lennig, and more. Row number 3, 4-stroke A-class riders. 16 riders heading into that first turn. Corey Vickard, Mark Notman, Donald Ackerman, Dustin Piggott, Wayne Tharp, Josh Kirkland, Gabe Phillips, Richie Brown, John Lavery, and Will Cashion, just to name a few. Row number 4, housing our Open A-class riders. 28 riders in this class. Ryan Lane, Cliff King, Timothy Gale, Jonathan Schaff, Jeffrey Vinzel, Michael Benson, Michael Johnson, Dustin Canpy, also Villain Kesey, Josh LaRusso, Kirk Egger, Jamie McRoberts, Joseph Wells, and more. So we can see some first turn pileups taking place there in the Open A class, with 28 riders trying to funnel down into that small first turn region where at least that line that the riders like to use makes it a little tough. As we head down to our next row, it's going to be our 2-stroke A and B class riders, but we're still trying to separate our Open A class riders. They got tangled up in that first turn region. Can't quite get a number on those machines for you, but they are separated, and these guys are off and rolling as we move down now to our 2-stroke A and B class. This is the riders, the machines that we used to see on the front row all the time. These riders would go out and build $20,000 and $30,000 ATVs, but this year it's only Ryan Shockling and Chris Moore battling at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC as we head down to row number 6. This is going to be our Junior Plus 25 class riders on row number 6 as they jockey for position into turn number 1. Got guys like Travis Stiles, Wes Stone, Craig Stewart, Jim Pinkston, Chris Conklin, and more. Row 7, our Senior Plus 40 riders, 40 years of age and older. Only 10 of those guys signed up. Dave Simmons, John Cunningham, John Kinney, Matt Zalaski, Frank Grimplin, Jeff Robinson, Blaine Schick, Gary Davis, and more. Row number 8 is our Vet Plus 30 class riders. This is 23 riders off of road number 8. George Long, John Chambers, Dewey Rice, Jeff Miller, Dave Bishop, Fred Mudd, Chris Earlywine, also Ronald Mueller, Taylor Mink, and more. Row number 9 is our 4-stroke A and B class riders. Only 5 riders on this particular row. Justin Wright, Jeremy Evans, Nathan Gogno, Nathan Derrick, and Tommy Kuntz. These 5 riders always posting up a pretty good race for that 4-stroke stock A-B division. As we head down to row number 10 now, our 4-stroke B class, Matt Henderson, Brett Marksberry, Roger Brown, John Cunningham, Brent Foltz, Curtis Marshall, Zach Kirkland, Kevin Patterson, Mike Budd, Justin Cosmer, Chris Biven, and also Brian Toney, rounding out your field of 12 riders as we head down to our final row. Row number 11, the Open B class, 22 riders. Nathan Walby, Jeremy Stuckwish, Barry Taylor, James Davis, Chad King, Jeremy Benson, Tim Allen, James Jones, Tyler Moore, Andrew Cornell, Justin Tuggle, Daniel Egger, Garrett Oliver, Brooks Dyer, Christopher Bowles, also Timothy Seaman, John Arnold, Michael Lancaster, Eric Hoyland, and Dennis Switzer. 22 riders on row number 11. Out near the 1 mile mark now, it is Bill Balance, still challenged by Jinx, and also the number 2 of Chris Borch. We're seeing some dust kick up here. That's the number 9 of Adam McGill running in the 4th place position. This youngster getting off to a great start out of West Union, West Virginia. If you remember last year, he was your Pro-Am class champion and actually took a podium finish off of row number 2 at the John Penton GNCC in the 2005 racing season. Has been up there a couple of times so far in the 2006 racing season, but trying to make his mark here in the final 4 races of 2006 here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. We also, in a couple of weeks, will be moving over to St. Clairsville, Ohio. Actually, Unadilla, up in Unadilla, New York, then to St. Clairsville, Ohio for round number 12. And our 13th and final round will take place in Crawfordsville, Indiana at the Ironman GNCC. It is most definitely a classic GNCC battle that we see shape up out there each and every year. As we look back through some of the pack of riders we see out there, some of our Pro-Am class riders and even some of our 4-stroke A riders we see checking in with us. This is 4-stroke A class that we're seeing right now, getting ready to head into some Open A class riders. There is number 50 of Daryl Bozarn from West Terre Haute, Indiana. He's your Open A class leader of the 28 riders as we head through this first mile of racing here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. Trying to watch for some more of these numbers to see how these guys are starting to shape up in the first mile. 141 checking in with us now, and I believe that rider is going to be out of the Junior Plus 25 class. That's Kevin Logston from Belpre, Ohio, your early class leader in the Junior 25 Plus class. 16 riders in that particular division, as we see that they're still pretty nip and tuck and pretty close to keeping them honest up there, so don't count out any of these riders in that plus 25 class, the junior class. Again, keeping an eye out for the 76 at Jim Pinkston, and there he goes right there. He's your ITP Factory tire representative. There's the 181 also checking in with us. That's Jeff Miller. He's from the Vet 30 Plus class and leading the Vet 30 Plus class. He is on a Yamaha from Smithfield, Pennsylvania. He's also one of Barry Hawk's friends and pitmen, if you will. Whenever Doug Whitmer can't be there, Jeff Miller is one that stands in for him as we head back out to the leaders now near the 2-mile marker. And it looks like Borch has moved into second. Jinx has dropped off to third. It's still McGill in fourth. In fifth place, that looks like Bithell back there aboard that number 14 machine. So he's got his work cut out for him, but still well within striking distances. Look how close these top 10 or so riders are at the 2-mile marker. We are not seeing any separation hardly whatsoever. There's the biggest gap we're seeing right now. And that's back to the number 6 of Brandon Balance. And in tight woods like this, that's not a very big gap at all. As more riders are checking in, some more of our pro class riders trying to check the action out. Todd Demery, the number 21, also we see the 29 of Kim Coonley working his way through this pro racer field. Now, Kim Coonley, the oldest rider out on the racetrack at 45 years old. Good to see him still out there and somewhat contending in the mid-40 range. 1, 2, and 3, no changes there. It's still Balance, Borch, and Jinx. 1, 2, and 3, McGill in fourth place. Bithell holding on to fifth. Brian Cook 6th, 7th is Michael Houston, an LTE rider. William Yoakley back in the 8th place position as he just cannot find anywhere to pass. Brandon Balance in 9th place. A little bit of a gap between 8th and 9th. That's the biggest gap that we're seeing right now. Other than that, these riders are pretty much bumper to bumper through at least these wood sections here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. So we look just a little further back one more time. Some of our Pro-Am class riders that you see making their way by. Actually, that was Kim Coonley from the Pro class out of Newberry, Ohio, checking in with us. Now we're starting to see some of those Pro-Am class riders check in. There went Craig Reed, the number 23. 36 of Tyler Lennox. He's going to be one to keep an eye on. 74, Sean Needlinger. Now, Needlinger on time adjustment a couple of times already in the 2006 racing season. We've seen him in the overall top 10, but the last few races, that 74 machine of Needlinger from Flagtown, New Jersey, has been somewhat struggling a little bit and has not been able to break into a top 10, let alone challenge for an overall top 5 out there on the course. There goes that number 25 machine, Jeff Pickens from Uniontown, Pennsylvania. Looks like he got off to a little bit of a sluggish start from our Pro-Am classes. He's back of the pack there as we head out to the front of the pack with our Pro class riders. Bill Balance at the 5.5-mile marker. Borch in second. Jinx in third. McGill still fourth. Bithell still fifth. Cook still sixth. Houston still in seventh. William Yoakley still back there in the number 8 spot. Breaker back in ninth. And Jeremy Rice rounding out your top 10. So we look at the top 10 at the 5.5-mile marker, about the halfway point of lap number 1 here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. Bill Balance, the rider in control of the situation right now, actually didn't even make it to the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC last year because of the broken ankle. We talked with him earlier.
This is the first time I've ever been on it. Last year I had a crushed ankle and was laying on the couch when everybody was here racing, and then over the winter a lot of the guys come down and run a couple locals here, so they've got some track time here. So it is a hole shot track. It's really tight out there. There's not a lot of passing, so the Yamaha's been good at getting me a hole shot this year. So that's what I'm hoping for, just go to the starting line and get a good start and run from there. You know, right now the thing that I'm worried about is bad luck. It can strike at any time. We're out there racing for 2 hours. I'm more worried about having bad luck or some kind of silly mechanical problem than I am the competition right now.
Bill Balance, a seasoned professional rider with 6 championships to his credit, working on championship number 7 right now, and that would tie Barry Hawk's all-time ATV GNCC title at 7, but Barry Hawk has 8 to his credit with 1 motorcycle championship, and you know that Barry Hawk, you got to be wondering what Hawk is thinking right now. Is he thinking that he might come out of ATV retirement soon and maybe come back and try to challenge Bill Balance for an 8th championship? I don't necessarily count on that happening, but you got to wonder if maybe that little ghost is lurking around in the back of Barry Hawk's mind. Some troubles out there. Whenever something like this happens, you can see chaos immediately develops, and you got to start looking for those lines whether you want to or not. And this sometimes is how extra lines begin to develop out there and give these opportunities for passing later on in the race. So I know that the guys up front like Bill Balance and Borch and Bithell and Chris Jinks and William Yoakley and all those guys are saying, you know, hey, stall out on the track as much as you want out there on these first couple of laps of racing if you're behind us, and that way you guys can open up new lines and maybe we can try to make some passes out there. As you can see, very tight, a lot of undergrowth and that is taking place here as far as the vegetation is concerned. So whenever these riders try to venture off the course, they might get wrapped up in some of those saplings, and that could definitely end their race day, or if not, slow it down. Speaking of slowing down, they got to slow down coming through the Suzuki Special Test section. They're going to suck that water up and stall the machine out. And look how tight these top riders are. We're not talking about the top 5 that we see right there with Chris Bithell at the number 14, but we see even further back. There's the number 7 of Brian Baker out of Knob Noster, Missouri. He's getting hung up coming up out of this creek section. Will he be passed? Yes, no. Nearly getting past there, but he's able to fend him off as we head toward the conclusion of lap number 1 here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC, and our Suzuki leaderboard says it's Bill Balance, Chris Borch, Chris Bithell, Chris Jinks, and Adam McGill rounding out your top 5. We do see some changes there as Bithell gets around Jinks. As we head for the battle for the lead through the pits now, Borch is out front, Balance in second, and Jinks in third. We're seeing some things change around, and they change around again as Borch slides it out and drops from first to third in the blink of an eye. That's how quick it can happen in a Yamaha slow motion replay, and Bill Balance regains the lead one more time as Borch overshoots the turn. A little slick out there in that dry grass, and he's not able to get a stop. So it looks like Bithell will move into second, Borch in third. Still back there in the number 4 spot. He is the number 4 of Chris Jinks. Look at this, an unorthodox stop there for the number 3 of William Yoakley. After one lap of racing, a fuel-injected ATV stops for a pit stop. You got to wonder, why would he risk it and take the chance of losing that many positions, unless maybe it's some sort of strategy that Yoakley has got worked out here, and he's hoping that when these guys pit, he's going to be able to make up ground. As we take a look at our leaderboard one more time, it's Borch in second, trying to follow behind the number 1 of Balance. Look at this, Adam McGill gets hung up there, and there we're starting to see lines begin to develop and open up out there. McGill loses a couple of spots out there, and looks like Yoakley has dropped all the way off to an 8th place position now aboard that number 3 Suzuki. Time will tell whether or not, though, that is going to be a good strategy for him, because these guys still pretty wheel-to-wheel and bumper-to-bumper, and I think that is what Yoakley is actually gambling on, is the fact that it's going to stay like that at least through the next lap, maybe even 2 laps before people start breaking away. And he wants to be a part of that breakaway pack, so he's got to try to make up as much ground as possible out here on the track, as well as in the pits whenever these riders do finally make their pit stops out there. There goes another LTE-backed rider, Looney-tuned exhaust, and I think that's one of our Pro-Am class riders. And even a little further back than that, we're seeing the number 151 machine out there, as we're getting to see a lot of new faces working their way up through the pack here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. So I guess it must not be just the pro riders that are trying to make their mark here in the latter part of the season. Several other classes are trying to make their mark as well. As we head down, take a look at our Motorsport Hot Product of the Week.
Hi, I'm Chris Jinks, GNCC number 4 with your Motorsports Hot Product of the Week. Today we're going to talk about Alpine Stars Tech 6 boots. The reason I like Alpine Stars, they're really ergonomic, they fit my feet really well, they're lightweight, they're durable, get a lot of race out of them, don't have any trouble with them at all. Also, they're very protective. Their contoured shin plate provides a high level of impact and abrasion resistance. Also, extended inside plate protects the side and toe box area of the foot. Leather upper with Alpine Stars exclusive rubber compound sole and contoured stamped steel shank. 4 polycarbonate buckles with memory featuring a quick release locking system. Buckles are injected with high impact resistance technopolymer. And finally, top of the boot is sealed with a Velcro strap connected with elastic strength PVC. Find these Alpine Star Tech 6s along with other great products at motorsport.com.
Great deals and great specials at motorsport.com. Be sure to check them out on the World Wide Web. As we head out near the 4-mile marker, it is still balanced. It is Borch in second, Bithell in third, and Chris Jinks rounds out your top 4. As we look back to a 5th place position, it is Yoakley making up some time out there, moving into a 5th place position. There's Brandon Balance. Balance has not been able to equal his first ride of the 2006 racing season with that 3rd place finish at the Orange Crush GNCC in round number 1, and he's been trying to equal or maybe even better that since that first round of racing, and in doing so, we have not seen him really make a lot of waves in the 2006 racing season. There's Andy Lags. Now, Andy having a very strong and consistent 2005 season, and the same thing for 2006, but the last few races, we haven't seen as much of the Dirt First Duncan Roll Design racer as what we've seen, well, here today. 7th place has been the most consistent he's been in the last couple of races. There's that number 74 machine again, and Needlinger, it looks like he's moved into the lead of our Pro-Am division. There's some more Pro-Am riders checking in back behind them now as we're starting to see those guys actually work up into the mix of things. Actually, that was the number 20 of Josh Ripley out of Martinsville, Indiana, has moved up into the pro class now. So he is a pro rider out of Martinsville, Indiana. Good to see him making the move as well, as we're out near the 5.5 mile marker, getting a good look at some of these other classes making their way by here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. You know, these riders that we're seeing come up behind the pros are the future number ones that we see out there, like Bill Balance at the Suzuki Special Test section. Look how deep that water is this year. Riders not pushing the issue any whatsoever, just easing their way through till they get to some of the shallower stuff there. Now we see that still not a lot of changes, but things have tightened up in this creek section of the race course, and we see the number 3 of William Yoakley right behind that number 9 of Adam McGill. So McGill and Yoakley back there battling it out for that number 5 spot. They've been swapping back and forth, but it looks like that maybe McGill might have the slight advantage right now. But you know, now Yoakley was running in 8th at the end of lap number 1. He stopped, he pitted, and he fell back a few positions, moved back up to an 8th place position, worked up to 5th, dropped back off to 6th. So Yoakley is a contender here today. 9.5 mile marker here on the second lap of racing. Not a lot has changed since lap number 1, as these riders basically bumper to bumper, wheel to wheel through this 11-mile section of race course that we have here at the Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. We wrap up lap number 2. It is Balance still in command and control. Borich in 2nd, Bithell in 3rd, Jinx in 4th, and Michael Houston has now moved into a 5th place position. Through the pits here on lap number 3. Is Balance going to stop? Is Borich going to stop? And is your 3rd place ride going to stop? It looks like they're all going to stop here. And look at this. The number 14 of Bithell is going to capitalize, move into the number 1 spot. Balance gets out in 2nd. And man, what a mix-up as far as the overall top riders are concerned. How much of an advantage did the number 3 of William Yoakley gain there, as he stopped at the end of lap number 1, heading into lap number 2 there for his pit stop. He wanted to try to avoid the mayhem and confusion in the pit stops that after that 2nd or 3rd lap, and that's exactly what he did. But does he capitalize? Does it pay off for the number 3, Yoshimura Suzuki? It looks like Brandon Balance having some troubles getting his machine fired back up, so they're actually going to bump start this machine. And looks like Elliott Skaggs and Brock, which is actually Brandon's mechanic, is going to get them off and rolling, and that's exactly what they've done. And look at this. Houston is out front and starting to stretch things out. Balance is in 2nd. Borich gets out in 3rd. And back in the number 4 spot is Chris Bithell.
It really is exciting. We've been looking forward to getting back up there since the big buck, so I'm really excited. I don't know how he got the lead, but he's there, so we'll go with it.
So what's your goal for the rest of the day? What are you telling them?
Just to stay on the podium, just to stay up front, ride a smooth race. See his hometown, we'd really like to bring home a win.
It went really well. Lost a couple spots, and Houston got by, which, as far as I know, Bill and Chris are the only 2 that pitted. We come back around about 3 mile marker. It was Houston, Bill, Chris. The way it looked, maybe Chris and Bill got together back maybe 4 mile marker, because Houston got pretty far out. So Chris fell back probably about 6th place.
So what you guys have ever done?
Oh yeah, you know, everybody's running right together. Bill and Brandon both come in at the same time, so it kind of hit us at a hard time. We were able to get both of them in and out. Got Bill back out in about 2nd place. He's caught back up to 1st place right now, so topped him off the rest of the way with fuel and get him a new set of goggles. Should be good to go the rest of the way. Yamaha and the Olin shocks are working good. I'm gonna try to stretch his points lead out a little bit more.
Picking the action back up out here at the 3 mile marker. It looks like that Houston has already made his way through. There's Balance in the number 2 spot. Starting to see some distance open up between those 2. Adam McGill up to 3rd. William Yoakley into a 4th place position. Almost pays off for him. There we see the Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Solid as a rock he is. There's Borich all the way back to a 6th place spot. And there is Chris Jinx, 7th place, and nearly on his nose out there on the trail at the 3 mile marker. What happened? He must have just got cross-rutted or something. That was crazy. Stalled the machine out, nearly went over the bars, but fires it right back up and gets into the hunt. As we see that the number 13 machine of Houston at the 4 mile marker still in command and control of the situation out there aboard the number 13 machine. There's the number 1 of Balance. He's trying to make up for lost ground out there. 3rd place still McGill. No change over the course of the last mile. 4th place should be the number 3 of William Yoakley, and it is. Back in the number 5 spot now. The number 7, that is Brian Baker out of Missouri. In 6th place, that would be, I believe that's the 15 of Johnson. And back there right behind him, that is Borich. He's got some ground to make up.
Down here in the pits, just past the halfway mark, and Rachel, you were down here to watch this. That might be the most intense set of pit stops we've ever seen.
It was crazy. We saw so many people come in at the same time. I don't even think the pit people knew which one they were pitting. And we also have new leaders up front, which has been a new thing. I mean, all day we've been saying Balance and Borch, they're going to be up there, they're going to be fighting it out, but now, just when you least expect it, we see some new people.
Yeah, Houston and Bithell, the LTE racing riders, have attacked, going right to the front of the pack because of the pit stop. And that's good news for Chris Borch, because if he can get more riders in there to put points between him and Bill Balance, that might allow him to get back into the points lead. But judging by what we just saw there, you cannot count anyone out.
Yeah, this is definitely a sport where anything can happen. We're going to keep an eye on it.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it right to the finish. It's going to be super intense, and we'll be here to get it.
Back out on the track at the 5-mile marker. Thanks, Rachel and Jason, by the way. And Houston still out front, Balance still in the number 2 spot, but we've seen this tighten up quite a bit. 2 miles ago, these riders were stretched way out, but this time around, they are tightening up quite a bit. There's the number 9 of McGill in 3rd, Yoakley in 4th, Brian Cook in a 5th place position aboard the number 11. Another rider that capitalizes on some of those pit stops out there. Bithell back in 7th, 8th place is Brandon Balance, 9th place Santo DeRisi. DeRisi working his way up into a top 10. And was that Matt Smiley possibly into a top 10? Or is that Sean Needlinger from the Pro-Am, row number 2, actually working his way up at the Suzuki Special Test section of the race course one more time. Balance still trying to play catch up from that 2nd place position. It's not catch up he's trying to play, it's get around that rider is what he's trying to play. He caught up a long time ago, but the track has been so tight, he's not been able to make any passes out there. So Balance is being very calculated, it looks like, here in the latter part of this Yadkin Valley Stomp GNCC. We got 2 laps down, working on lap number 3 right now. We will have 1 more to go after these riders check into the pit stops here in just a few moments. A 4-lap race. There goes the number 8. That's Andy Langston's again. He's out of Baltimore, Maryland area. He's got his own shop out there. They call it Dirt First. So if you're in Baltimore, stop by, say hi to Andy, and say, hey, we heard about you on GNCC on DVD. And there goes Brandon Balance, the number 6 machine. He got into the pits. Actually, you know, he's been riding pretty nip and tuck with those front 10 riders. Things are starting to stretch out a little bit as this race wears on, but it'll tighten back up before it's all said and done. Let's take a look at our Rocky Mountain Rider Tip of the Week now.
Here I have the G-Force aluminum wheel spacer. Made from 6061 T6 aluminum, this thing's very strong and durable. The front, as you can see, come with 30 millimeter wide each, while the rears are 45 millimeters wide to give your bike that offset stance, make it a little more stable. Economical way to do it, very little hassle, no removing of the hubs or anything. This and more fine G-Force products available at RockyMountainATV.com.
Be sure and log on to the World Wide Web or call for that free catalog, as we see that Houston now is caught up to the tail of some lap traffic out there, and that's going to slow the pace down a little bit. That could be to an advantage of the champ. Bill Balance. He might be able to capitalize out there, especially if Houston would make some sort of mistake. End of lap number 3. White flag flies. It's still Houston out front. Balance in 2nd. Adam McGill holds steadily into the 3rd place position. 4th place is William Yoakley. And rounding out the top 5 now is Knob Noster, Missouri's own Brian Baker, as we head back out of here on lap number 4 to the 2-mile marker. And Houston and Balance way out of shape there. It looked like he almost rocketed off the racetrack there, but regains composure and right back into it. Looking back into the number 3 spot, or up into number 3 now, is the number 3 of William Yoakley. What happened to McGill out there as we head into the pits now? Will Houston have to stop? No, he won't. He stopped at the end of that 2nd lap, so he doesn't have to stop this time around. Balance in the number 2 spot. He doesn't have to stop anymore, but McGill will have to stop for a splash of gas. Yoakley will not, and now Yoakley moves back into 3rd. A solid battle for 4th place between Brian Baker and now Chris Borch aboard the number 2 has moved up to a 5th place spot. Borch had dropped off to 6th. What's going on with Bithell? Bithell actually pulling over there, looking back into the pits, trying to talk to somebody. Is he telling them everything's okay? That's okay. He is talking to Jungle Joe there, Joe Borch, which is Chris Borch's dad. He's trying to tell him something. You got to wonder, what's he trying to tell him? Is Chris having some problems out there on the track, or what is the case? But Borch is up into 5th, so things not so bad. Whatever it is, he told him he's on his way out of the pits, and looks like Bithell is in a solid 7th place position. Tough break for that rider right there, the number 4, Chris Jinks, who's lost a lot of ground over the course of the last lap of racing or so. Balance still back in the number 2 spot, trying to play catch up. Yoakley still in third. Baker in the number 4 spot. We've got wheel-to-wheel battling. 5th place now, the number 9 of Adam McGill. So things have been changing, but a lot of the same riders are holding on to one of those top 5 positions, at least late here in the race. But the rider that is trying to make up the most ground right now, I think, is that number 3 Yoshimura Suzuki rider. Monster Energy sponsored also of William Yoakley out there. He is knocking on the door for a second, possibly even a first place position. Could Yoakley put himself into a position to take his first win of the 2006 racing season? Time will tell, and about 5 miles of time is all we've got to find that out in as we head back through the Suzuki Special Test section. This is out near the 6-mile marker. Balance going to try to make the pass. We've got lap traffic in between those 2 riders, though, so that's some saving grace for that number 13 of Michael Houston to be able to hold on to that number 1 spot. And look, Baker, the number 7 machine, still within striking distance. Will he make the podium before this one's all said and done? I know he is chomping at the bit right now, and he sees it. He feels it coming into play. It's a possibility with less than half a lap to go now, but he's got to play his cards right here in these final few miles. And I'll tell you, whenever Baker is in position, he is usually a very smart rider and can usually capitalize on a lot of riders' mistakes. And here in the latter part of the race, you know that some riders, especially the riders that are used to being up front, will possibly make some mistakes, and that's what we're talking about. Is maybe Houston will make a mistake, and that might allow the opportunity for Balance for the rest of these guys to get through and move on up. There went Dwayne Johnson. Johnson's moved up through the pack right now as we head toward the finish line. Look at this. We've had all kinds of changes taking place, but Bill Balance ends up coming out on top. Reports are that Yoakley was out front for a little while, but got held up with some lap traffic, so he drops off. Michael Houston actually blowing his machine up out on the track, so he is nowhere to be found at the finish line region, and that has definitely been a turn for the what in the world's going on out there on this race course in that final lap of racing. You see a lot of heads shaking right now, and Chris Borch is one of those riders that is very disgruntled. So is McGill. McGill had a top 3 or 4 position locked up, it looked like, heading into those last few miles of racing, but something happened between mile marker number 6 and that finish line region that put Bill Balance in the number 1 spot, Dwayne Johnson in second, and Brian Baker rounding out your top 3. And it looks like Bill Balance gets that ITP Whole Shot Award one more time.
We did a few changes in my bike on the front end and tried a few different things, and I was really hoping to get a good finish. I was starting to kind of get down on how I've been doing, and I felt real fast all day. Everything went good, and I don't know, I just had one of them lucky days where everything went my way, and yeah, everything turned out great. And I got a podium there last year, and it'd be incredible if I got a podium again. I like the track really, really good. My bike felt awesome this week, so and I'd really hope to get another podium next weekend. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Okay. So did you come in today expecting to be up here?
I've really come in today expecting to do really good, but after the whole shot I had, I really didn't think it was going to happen, but just really kept charging and just kept climbing.
You've had an up and down year. How does it feel coming back to really be up here and starting off well?
I really don't think I've had too bad of an up and down year, but I've been up here in the top 5.
Wait. Okay, then let's cut that. We won't say that. Let's start over. So you came here feeling confident about today. Are you happy with your results?
Oh yeah, I'm real happy. I come in, rode all August and really trained hard, and come in pretty confident to this round, but after that whole shot, I really didn't think it was going to happen today, and just kept riding hard and getting into bottlenecks and passing riders, and just everything just turned out for me.
Did you feel physically comfortable out there?
Yeah, I felt real good. I've been running all summer and riding a lot, and been to as many races as I could over the break, and I really felt good.
You happy?
Oh yeah, I'm real happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had to work pretty hard for it. I hadn't been feeling too good. I didn't want anybody to know about it, but I'd been sick for a couple of days and not able to hold my food or liquids in, but it was tough out there. It was hot, and Yamaha, it pulled a good start for me and got me out front. It always does a good job at that, and just tried to stay smooth all day long, and it was tough. I didn't look like I was going to finish third, but I was pretty content with it because Chris was behind me, and we got there with about half a mile to go, and there was a bad bottleneck, and wound up taking the lead right there and just making the day perfect, so pretty happy.
Speaking of Chris, now that he finished behind you, you secured even more points.
Yeah, I had like a 16 points lead, and I finished, I think, 4 or 5 positions ahead today, so this is going to give me a little slack, a little breathing room for these last 3 races. Thank you.
Well, that wraps up the Yadkinville Stomp. We had Chris Borch and Bill Balance coming with a 16-point difference between them. Chris Borch did not have the day he was looking for.
No, definitely, Rachel. Borch needed to get up there and win this race today, and he needed to take control early. There's 3 races left in the championship. He's 16 points down now, and he needed to come out of here with a win today. And unfortunately, Balance is the last one he needed to see win this race, which did.
Well, Balance didn't really have a great day, but he ended up coming out on top.
Yeah, definitely. Luck was going his way today, and William Yoakley, we kind of all thought on the last lap that was maybe going to pull out one of his wins here today, and another rider in front of him got caught up in the woods, and you know, there's a big bottleneck out there, and Balance is the one that came out on top, so luck was going his way, definitely.
Well, we're going to follow Balance into next week. We'll see you on Racer TV.
Thanks a lot, Rachel and Rodney, and you're right. Look at that. This is some of the action that we missed during the race. ATV actually catching on fire out in the woods. How it happened, I don't know, but it burned down to the ground, so be careful. If one catches on fire, get away from it for sure. On behalf of Rodney Smith, Rachel Ayers, and Jason Wygant, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day, everybody.